chill.
Hello Marvel Legends and welcome to the supercut of every single Marvel Legend figure released by Toybiz. I didn't even realize when I was doing the 2006 list that that's Toybiz done. Out of the way. So that's really kind of cool. The funny thing is, like, there's zero pomp and circumstance to it because I just breezed through it onto the Masterless Wave, which was the first Hasbro wave. So to commemorate this monumentous occasion, I've put together a supercut of all the Toybiz figures listed from the beginning, from Toad up to the last one. So guys, I hope you enjoy this. You can see the quality is kind of like ropey at the start, and then I get a little better and a little better, and the technology gets better and better, and ultimately it's a decent video, I think. So guys, enjoy this complete comprehensive countdown of every Toybiz Marvel Legend. Hello Marvel Legends! Are you ready to get nuts? Cause come on, let's get nuts! We're gonna do a crazy project and it's kicking off right now in this video. We are gonna cover every single Marvel Legend ever made, starting with the first 3 waves made by Toybiz in 2002. Let's do it! Well, before we get started, I'd like to give a big thank you to MarvelLegends.net. These guys have been providing all the pictures for this series, and I want to say a huge thank you because without them, and especially the information that they give as well, this series would not have been possible. So guys, if you love Marvel Legends and you want a comprehensive archive of every figure that has ever come out since the dawn of time, or at least like 2002, which, let's face it, that's when history began. If there was any history before Marvel Legends, I don't want to hear about it. But if you want to see a fantastic cataloging of all these figures, go check out MarvelLegends.net, especially the high-res pictures that they have of all the figures that first came out. It's absolutely been invaluable to me in making this series. And most of all, the fact that it's run by an amazing bunch of guys who just want to help a fellow creator out and just to help celebrate this wonderful hobby that we have. God bless them. MarvelLegends.net. Can of Coke to you guys. Now let's start the list. The very first Marvel Legend ever made in Series 1, 2002 was, of course, Steve Rogers' Captain America. And of course we love how much bang we got for our buck with Toybiz, because Captain America didn't just come with the figure, he came with a beautiful stand and also another issue of Captain America 109, I believe it was. So you got a whole package. Oh, good stuff. Keeping it Avengers themed, the next character was the Incredible Hulk. Again, like Cap, came with a stand accessory and also an issue of Incredible Hulk 314. And rounding out the Avengers for this wave was Iron Man. And just like the previous 2, he also comes with a wonderful sort of display stand and a copy of Iron Man 149. And the final figure from this wave was Toad. Yep, not really keeping with the Avengers theme, but there is a reason for that, because you see, this figure was actually made for the unreleased Evolution of X 2-pack, which was going to be part of the X-Men 2000 film wave. So when that ultimately wasn't released, Toad was added to this line after Toybiz needed a 4th figure for the release of the more detailed Marvel Legends Series 1. And that does it for Series 1. Can you believe it? Only 4 figures in the entire series. This is what I try to tell to new collectors. It's like, you don't know how lucky you are. When we were collecting, we only got 4 figures in our series, and we didn't even have builder figures. We used to have to make our own baths out of broken glass, cardboard, and our own salty tears. But I digress. There were some chase figures, there were some variants, and these were the ones people really had to go after. First of all, we had Iron Man in multiple different varieties. First up, we had the snazzy looking stealth armor Iron Man, and we also had the slightly blinged up gold armor variant. And not content with just that, the Hulk got a variant figure as well. He got a chase figure that had straight fingers. Seriously, that was it. I don't know what the necessary logic was behind that, but there you go. All right, time to move on to Series 2. Now, Series 2. So for Series 2, we went from Avengers over to Fantastic Four, and they hit this wave like with a big start. The first one to come out and hit store shelves was Doctor Doom. And this Doctor Doom looked awesome because he came with, again, an actual diorama stand to go on giving that bang for the buck. And he also came with an issue of Fantastic Four number 247. Following up Doctor Doom came Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, who actually came with a beautiful bunch of like flaming fire effects. These looked so gorgeous and something that's sorely missed from a lot of modern Marvel Legends. After Johnny Storm, we had Prince Neymar, the Submariner, with his trident and his sort of skin-tight kind of wetsuit-looking gear, as opposed to the sparkly green pants that we often see him in. And again, he came with an issue of Submariner number 67. And the final figure for this wave, of course, again, only 4 figures. We had Ben Grimm, the Thing. Ah, that was perfectly timed. And this thing came with a copy of Fantastic Four number 263. That does it for the main figures, but of course we had our chase variants as well. And my personal favorite one is the trench coat Thing. So it's the same thing, but with the soft goods, hat, glasses, and trench coat. Looks like it's like Ben Grimm incognito, but it kind of looks like he's trying to sneak into an adult theater as well, so that's kind of amusing. Plus, we also had the Human Torch with or without the Fantastic Four logo. The original comes without the Fantastic Four logo. The variant has the 4 on his chest, which actually is kind of cool because then you could always have like a World War II Human Torch and then a Fantastic Four Human Torch. And finally, the other variant is the Doctor Doom Doombot variant. So again, Doctor Doom, but with the different face mask to make the Doombot sort of character. I always thought that was kind of funny that Doctor Doom is like one of the most intelligent characters in the 616, but clearly not the most creative. It's like, I have created a Doom robot. I will call him Doombot, I guess. All right. Season 3. Alright guys, Series 3 for 2002. Not Season 3, what is this, a TV show? Come on Dave, get with the program. TV show program. Alright, so the first figure for Series 3 was Daredevil. Not just any old Daredevil though. The 2003, hang on a second. 2003 movie, 2002 wave. That doesn't make sense. Alright, well you know what? I'm here now, and this is the next figure to come out, so maybe we're scooching over into 2003. Doesn't matter. No one is going to use this as a historical resource, trust me. So, we had the movie Daredevil, the Ben Affleck Daredevil, a film which I think gets a lot of hate. I actually really enjoyed the movie Daredevil for my sins, especially the ridiculous, Colin Farrell Bullseye. Wonderful. So, and Michael Clark Duncan as Kingpin, yeah, that took some beating. The Netflix Kingpin was awesome, but Kingpin's got some good cinematic history. Anyway, I digress. We had the 2003 movie Daredevil, and he also came with a copy of Daredevil 164. After Daredevil, we had Ghost Rider, and this was probably one of the most ambitious figures that they had done up to this point. Not just the figure of Ghost Rider, but the whole bike came with him as well. I would need to get a larger Spinatron 5000 just to, have the full Ghost Rider figure on here to represent him. Or as you can see, I don't have any of the early Toybiz ones, so I'm sort of filling in with what we got here. But yeah, this figure sort of set a new kind of standard of like what they could pack into those little clamshell cases. They were very impressive. And of course, like the other figures, Ghost Rider came with an issue of Ghost Rider number 2 from 1973. Coming up next, we start to represent the mutants because we have Wolverine here, claws out, looking like a badass, and that's a figure that still is like in heavy circulation today, is this Toybiz Logan, especially with the Hellfire Club Goon diorama as well. With the new Hellfire Club sets coming out and the new Goons coming out, this is once again in high demand. And this issue, of course, with the setup, came with, this comic, no, this figure, we got there, this figure came with a reprint of Uncanny X-Men number 133, where Wolverine just cracks open a can of whoop-ass on all the Hellfire Goons. And what would the X-Men be without Magneto? So of course we got a Magneto figure to give the mutants their sort of counterpart, their evil villain to battle. And he looked great. And he came with an issue of the Jim Lee 1991 X-Men series, that being issue number 2. And finally for this wave, and for this year, and for this video, we had the mighty Thor, who you saw earlier on the Spinatron 5000. He was the final part of that classic Avengers lineup. So now, after these 3 series, you had Iron Man, you had Hulk, you had Captain America, and you had Thor. But that's not it, we've still got a couple of variants to cover. Okay, well actually I sold you a full spill of goods. We have one variant to cover, and that is the Maskless Wolverine. So there's quite a few of these floating around out there, the Masked and the Maskless Wolverine. For any hardcore collectors, of course, you gotta try and track them both down. But hey, you get 2 dioramas, twice as many beaten up Hellfire goons. So that's all good fun. And folks, that was the first year, and maybe the next year, of Marvel Legends, the Toybiz years. And so, kicking off 2003, we have Series 4, which we will start with the Beast from the X-Men. Hank McCoy looking resplendent in his glorious blue fur, and he also comes packaged with a reprint of X-Men number 3. Following hot on the heels of Hank McCoy, we have Elektra Nachios, who comes with a wonderful diorama display base and a reprint of Daredevil 176. Next, we have another member of the X-Men. It is Gambit, who comes with a cloth overcoat and a fantastic set of kinetically charged playing cards. He also comes with a copy of X-Men number 4. Next up, we have the Beef. We got a huge big figure here. This is Goliath, the Hank Pym version. But he's not alone. He also comes with the Scott Lang Ant-Man and Wasp figure as well. I imagine the Wasp is Janet Van Dyne. They also have a copy of Avengers number 28. Now we take it back to the streets with the Punisher, who comes with Punisher Warzone number 1. Not only one Frank Castle do we get though, we also get a second Frank, a more fashion-conscious Frank. We have the white belt variant Frank Castle as well. And that was it for Series 4. We got 2003 off to a good start. We had some X-Men, we had some street-level guys, we had a big Avenger with some beef. That was a good way to start 2003, but Toybiz weren't done there, because Season 5 was coming out right after that. And Series 5 kicked off with the Wesley Snipes Blade. I think we'd had all the Blade movies by this point, so the bloom was kind of off the rose with that franchise. But, oh my goodness, this Wesley Snipes Blade looked the business. Plus, he came with a copy of Tomb of Dracula number 45. And man, did you see the bike that he came with as well? Like, that's the added value that Toybiz was so good for. Yeah, we had ball-jointed hips. Yeah, some of the faces were a little bit horrifying. We'll get to that later. But you got so much for your money. But hey, you know what? We're living in a good era now. Hasbro are kind of killing the game, so swings and roundabouts. Next up, we had another nice, big, chunky figure. We had the X-Man Colossus, Peter Rasputin, and he came with a copy of X-Men number 129. Series 5 also gave us another member of the Fantastic Four, this time Mr. Fantastic himself, Reed Richards, who came with a morphing giant hand and a hammer hand, and of course a diorama piece as well. They all did back then. It was a golden time to be alive. Not only that, but we also got a copy of Fantastic Four number 489. Next, we had our first representative of S.H.I.E.L.D., Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., who came with an incredible, ridiculous backpack with jets flying out straight out of a James Bond movie. Not only that, but he came with a reprint of Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. number 1. Next up, hot on the heels of Nick Fury, we had the villainous Red Skull, who came again with a great diorama piece and a reprint of Captain America number 16. Next, we have Wolverine's arch nemesis, Sabretooth, so finally you can pair up Wolverine with someone who's actually a formidable match for him. Not only that, but Victor Creed comes with a copy of X-Men number 5. And finally, rounding out Series 5, we go cosmic when we bring out Norrin Radd, the Silver Surfer, who comes complete with that feathered fowl, Howard the Duck. Not only that, but there was also a variant Silver Surfer who came without Howard. I think that's kind of odd that the variant version has less or is less appealing than the regular version. Surely that's just like a bad version. Maybe they had a manufacturing mistake and forgot to insert Howard and they were like, no, it's totally a variant. Not only did we have the single figures in 2003, but we also had our box sets, and oh boy did we get some box sets. First of all, we had the Urban Legends box set, which was a really cool street level sort of set. It had the Punisher, Daredevil, Elektra, and Spider-Man. And finally, to round out 2003, we had the X-Men box set, and whew, let's take a look at this. Initially, everything checks out. We have Gambit, we have Wolverine without the mask, we got Magneto there, we have Beast with a lovely cloth lab coat as well, and then we got Rogue, and she is sporting a kisser that only her mother could love. This figure has kind of gone down in infamy as one of the more harrowing Toybiz face sculpts. Whenever someone says, yeah, Toybiz came with a lot of accessories, but they didn't always nail the faces. This is what they're talking about. That might be why the Juggernaut Wave Rogue that came out a couple of years ago was in such high demand. People were like, I gotta get this old Rogue off my shelf. And that, folks, concludes the 2003 rundown of every single Marvel Legend release. Guys, the year is 2004. Let's take a look at every Marvel Legend released in this year. Of course, folks, the photography for this video is sponsored and provided by MarvelLegends.net. Go to MarvelLegends.net for all of your chronicling of all the classic Marvel Legends figures right back to the original Toybiz era, and some chef's kiss photography as well. Marvel Legends, go check them out. Starting with everyone's favorite time traveler, Cable. Cable came resplendent in the usual blister pack, also featuring a really huge, cool sort of gun, tank, flying thing type accessory. And of course, he had the classic 90s pockets and pouches, really looking like he just jumped off of a Rob Liefeld page. But that wasn't all. You also got a brown variant Cable that you could pick up as well. Plus, of course, as was the style at this time, the characters came with their own comic as well. In this case, it was a reprint of Cable number 73. Following on from Cable, we keep it in the family with Phoenix, or also Dark Phoenix. Yes, again, we get two different choices to go for. We've got the regular Jean Grey Phoenix, or as a variant, you get the Dark Phoenix as well. Both of these characters came with a beautiful flaming Phoenix accessory. Oh gosh, it looks so nice. You can still search for it on the back market. Secondary market? You know what I'm talking about. Either way, it's quite a sought after piece because you can just put that with any character, like a modern Jean Grey, and it just looks fantastic. Also, of course, these figures came with a reprint of X-Men number 101. Also in Wave 6, and keeping it all things X, we get Deadpool. And Deadpool came with a Dupe action figure. And this is kind of fun because Dupe was a much more modern character from, I believe it was the X-Force relaunch title. And he's a character I know nothing about, but what a bizarre, quirky, fun-looking character. So they would both look great on the shelf together. And of course, this being Toybiz and the golden age of accessories and all things, Deadpool came with guns and all sorts of explosive weapons of destruction, so a really fun figure. Plus, he came with a copy or a reprint of Deadpool number 4. Keeping Series 6 decidedly X-themed, we get the Juggernaut, and what a massive, awesome figure this is. Often called the Gorilla Juggernaut because of the gigantic big arms he's got sort of lumbering around with him. This figure looks so awesome. There's not much in the way of accessories with this figure, but I mean, come on, it's the Juggernaut. All you need is the beef. There's a lot of plastic in this figure. Plus, he comes with a reprint of X-Men number 13. Next up, taking it away from the mutants and over to the street side of things, we have the Thomas Jane Punisher. So this is an interesting one. So we get another movie figure, but I love the Thomas Jane head sculpt because he looks so unimpressed with everything. He's like, I guess I'm gonna fire this rocket launcher now. But that's kind of fun, it's kind of quirky. I don't think it's like the best Thomas Jane likeness, but you can see that's kind of what was being gone for. And of course, this figure also comes with a comic book reprint. In this case, it's Amazing Spider-Man number 129. And to complete Series 6, we take it right back around to the X-Men again with brown costume Wolverine. Brown and tan, they have various different names for it, but it's brown costume Wolverine. And he also comes with an accessory of a whole other character, which is Logan as well. So they make a really cool kind of pair together on the shelf. And this wouldn't be complete without a reprinted comic book. And in this case, Wolverine comes with a copy of Uncanny X-Men number 213. And that does it for Marvel Legends Series 6. After Series 6, we of course move on to Series 7, and we get some serious bang for our buck in this series. There are some big characters. First of all, who bigger and badder than Apocalypse? So this huge, big, chunky, badass looking Apocalypse comes with a great scowling, mean looking face, straight out of, his first appearance in X Factor. And speaking of which, this character does come with a reprint of X Factor number 25. Next up, we step away from the mutants and we go full demonic, hellish, supernatural with Ghost Rider. And what a figure this is. Coming complete with the bike as well. This one was just a great single package, but that's not all. I mean, because he's such a good figure, why not make him twice? This is an awesome variant that he can also be bought alongside or posed alongside. We have the phasing variant Ghost Rider, and this is just a gnarly looking figure. You think about this is a kid's toy, but look at the sculpting on this face as he turns into the Ghost Rider, the flesh being burnt away to reveal the skull. So awesome, so badass. Oh, I'd love to have this one on my shelf. I'm not a big Toybiz guy, but yeah, I would happily take this. Also, rather than a comic reprint, this figure comes with a nice snazzy looking poster book. After Ghost Rider, we're going to go back to the real world for a bit with the Avengers Hawkeye. Hawkeye in his classic costume, again with a great accessory to pose him on as well. A really fun figure who comes also with a reprint of Avengers number 223. Sticking with the Avengers, we get a Series 4 re-release of Giant Man. Covered already in previous video. He comes with Ant-Man and the Wasp as well, so a huge bit of bang for your buck with this character. And also he comes with a reprint of Avengers number 28. Sticking with the Avengers theme from the Iron Man chase figure, we have Silver Centurion Iron Man. In a fun design move, Hasbro made the mask removable. Rather than having a separate Tony head, you actually had the Iron Man head that you could pull the faceplate off of, which was a really nice touch that I would like to see brought back, but hey, that's just my personal preference. He also, of course, comes with accessories, a nice stand and a display to have him with, and he also comes with a reprint of Iron Man number 200. And rounding out the Avengers for this series, we have the Vision. Not just one, but two Visions. Just like Ghost Rider, you have a different version as well. You have regular Vision and phasing Vision. So you can see whatever Vision you want to have to suit your personal preferences. Both of them are really fun figures. They look great. They have the big swooping cape and very sort of regal Vision kind of look. Me personally, I love my translucent, colorful plastic, so phasing Vision I think looks really cool. And of course, both figures come with a reprint of Avengers number 135. And finally, concluding Series 7, we have Wolverine Weapon X, looking like he's come straight out of the Department H science labs. He's got all the classic accessories that you imagine from the Weapon X comic books, with the mask, the visor, all the tubes and whatnot all over him. A very fun, cool, unique looking figure. And of course, he comes complete not with a reprinted comic this time, but with a rather snazzy X-Men Legends poster book. And that concludes our look at Series 7. And we wrap up the series for 2004 with Series 8, and we go into it very strong with the Black Widow. Black Widow coming in her classic Avengers appearance there, but that's not all. You also get the variant version of Black Widow, the Yelena Belova version. I have to make sure I pronounce that right, otherwise I just embarrass myself. Both of these figures come with a reprint of Daredevil number 81. Keeping it Avengers, the next figure is the Sentinel of Liberty, Captain America. Of course, Cap comes with everything you would expect. The shield, a nice base, and he comes with a 616 poster book. That's not all though. We also have another variant. In this case, we have Ultimate Captain America, who has some slight paint variations to distinguish him as Ultimate Cap, but that's not all. Early shipments have a paint error with grey paint on the 616 pants and blue on Ultimate. A running change corrected this, but it's an interesting little find if you can come across one. Next up, we take it to Spider-Man's Rogues Gallery with Dr. Octopus, who they think they do a great job with a very sort of mean-looking, mad scientist kind of face. And also, of course, Dr. Octopus comes with a reprint of Marvel Age Spider-Man number 2. Next up, we have the chase figure for the wave, which is the Doombot. Already covered in the previous series, this figure comes with its typical base, and of course it has a comic book as well. In this case, it comes with a reprint of Marvel Age Spider-Man #4. Now we're taking it back to the mutants with Bobby Drake, Iceman. Typically, as with all the figures, I'm not telling you anything that you don't already know, Iceman comes with a base to display him on as well, some cool like ice effects to put with him, and of course, with this figure you get a reprint of Uncanny X-Men #18. Now we've got ourselves a really fun figure. We're going to go back to the supernatural kind of side of things. We have the giant-sized Man-Thing. This character is really cool, and the figure totally represents that. I love that we have such variance in the style and the sizes of the figures. This is a figure you get a lot of bang for your buck. You get your money's worth with this one. And of course, he comes with a comic book as well. In this case, he comes with Ultimate Marvel Team Up #7. And what would a Legend series be without Iron Man? It's funny actually I say that, but this was long before the first Iron Man movie even came out, so Iron Man wasn't the franchise that he was, but he was always very toyetic. I mean, you gotta love that armor. And in this case we get modern Iron Man, looking resplendent and very snazzy in his more up-to-date technological gear. And of course this figure comes with all the accessories you would expect, and rather than a reprinted comic, he comes with a snazzy looking poster book. And finally, rounding out Series 8 for Marvel Legends in 2004, we have Black Costume Storm. And this is a figure that I think they really did a great job of capturing the character. You have the wonderful face sculpt, which I think is very, very dramatic and very regal looking. Also, of course, you've got a wonderful kind of whirlwind cloud sort of base to put her on. And no figure in this wave would be complete without a reprinted comic book. In this case, we get Uncanny X-Men #96. That's not all though, don't let me stop you there. We also have another variant version of Storm 2, not just with the long flowing hair, but we have the very cool, awesome looking Mohawk Storm as well. So you can choose which kind of style, which sort of hair you think fits your collection best. This is a figure I'm really very fond of. And that concludes our look at Series 8 of Marvel Legends. But hey, don't go anywhere. Where do you think you're going? We're not done, because in 2004 we also had box sets, and oh boy howdy did we have some fun box sets. First of all, we have the Fantastic Four box set. And what a great combination this is. This has all the ones you would expect. Of course, you've got Ben Grimm, The Thing, you've got Reed Richards, you've got Sue Storm, you've got Johnny Storm changing halfway between fire and regular, but also you get Dr. Victor Von Doom with the removable mask showing his gnarly Freddy Krueger face under there. But on top of that, we have two awesome little extras as well. We have, chronologically, my first Marvel Legend. I have this guy, thanks to my buddy Jeb. I have the little Franklin Richards, and he does not look right next to modern figures. He's got the big crazy kind of cartoony eyes, but he's really fun to just have. And hey, my first Marvel Legend. And of course we've got the robot Robbie. Well, what? Okay, my mind's gone blank. Sorry. Whatever the robot's name is, please help me out in the comments. We get him too. So that's a great set and a great way. If you don't have the Fantastic Four, just buy everything all at once. And as if that wasn't enough Fantastic Four for you, we have more Fantastic Four for you. We have another Fantastic Four box set of the core cast of characters. So now we have the more modern suit versions of Reed, Sue, Ben, and Johnny. Ben in particular is one that is very highly regarded and is still in high demand because he's got the cloth trench coat. And this cloth trench coat will still kind of fit and scale with a lot of modern Hasbro Marvel Legends. So it's such a fun accessory that you can throw on other characters. So if you can find yourself a Ben Grimm with the cloth overcoat, nab him, grab hold of him, because that is a great figure and a great accessory to have. And finally, to round out and wrap up 2004, we have a box set very close to my heart. It is Spider-Man and his assorted villains and rogues gallery. First of all, we have Spidey, of course, looking resplendent right there. But what would Spider-Man be without his villains? And we have a heck of an assortment right here. We've got ourselves Kraven the Hunter with a maniacal look on his face and some great weapons as well. We have what is still considered by many people to be the quintessential Green Goblin figure. I personally love this Goblin. I think the eyes are great with like the Norman eyes behind them. It's just such a wonderful sculpt, and yeah, some would argue still yet to be bettered. Also, we have Electro, who's kind of a goofy looking design, but his design is kind of goofy looking. Although I feel his mask looks kind of odd on his face, like it's kind of thick material, but it's still a very fun Electro figure to have. Next up, speaking of cloth capes and cloth accessories from Ben Grimm, we have Dr. Octopus, who's a Dr. Octopus we're familiar with, but he comes with the fun white lab coat as well, making it a very unique character in and of itself. Also in the back, we have the Black Cat, because obviously Spider-Man needs some support against all these guys, so you can pair her up with him and they can fight side by side. And finally, what Spider-Man set would be complete without Venom, everyone's favorite symbiote, who I always felt was kind of not really a team player in the comics. He joined the Sinister Six once and it did not work out well. But as a general collection of Spider-Man's rogues, what a great way to round out the set. And that concludes it for 2004. My goodness, what a year that was. Some iconic characters and, more to the point, the numbers are ratcheting up. You know, Toybiz are getting the production line rolling, they're really getting their groove behind them, and they are churning out a lot of Marvel Legends. So going forward, these videos might be broken up. I might have to separate the years a little bit, otherwise it just becomes a crazy marathon, and this is more about... I don't know who that was. This is more about the journey, not the destination. So folks, thank you so much for joining me for the 2004 retrospective. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. And folks, for all of your Marvel Legends photography needs, go and check out marvellegends.net, a beautiful compendium of every Marvel Legend released, especially the old school ones, and the photography. Age of Apocalypse. I'll tell you what. It was that bloody dark beast with the stupid articulated toes. Just, I gotta buy a proper stand for him. Anyway, I'm not taking this out. It's a little sample of real life there for you. Anyway, what was I saying? marvellegends.net, go check it out. Hello, Marvel Legends. Are you desperate to find out what action figures were released in 2005? Well, it just so happens that I am too. So let's find out together. Kicking things off with the Galactus Wave, we had everyone's favourite Jade Giant, the Incredible Hulk, in his first appearance, guys. So of course, being first appearance Hulk, you've got to have a variant, which is of course the official first appearance colour of the Hulk, which is the rather spiffing looking grey Hulk. And of course, both of these figures came packed with a reprint of Incredible Hulk #1. Keeping with the variants, we had Daredevil's greatest enemy, Bullseye. This one came with a variant who also had an angry face. It's kind of like Mr. Potato Head. I'm pecking you your angry eyes, just in case. And of course, both figures came with a reprint of Daredevil #132. Next up, we had the wonderful, classic Doctor Strange, a figure who, in this guy's opinion, is desperately overdue for a re-release. This figure comes with a comic which had 4 selections from Strange Tales. We go from mysticism to technology next as we get Deathlock, who has a wonderfully gnarly looking zombie face, and he comes with a reprint of Deathlock #3. It's time to go into the mutants now as we get the wondrous Nightcrawler. Our friend Kurt Wagner, rather than coming with a reprinted comic, comes with a poster book. And keeping it with the X-Men, we have the X-Men's leader, Professor Charles Xavier, who comes complete with his, I suppose you'd call it an analog wheelchair, as opposed to his funky fancy schmancy Shi'ar flying one. And he of course comes with a reprint of Uncanny X-Men #117. And finally, rounding out the wave, we get James Rhodes' War Machine. This one even rivals the most recent deluxe version, I think. Again, with all the blast effects and the different accoutrements you can stick on there. Such a great looking figure. And he comes with a reprint of Iron Man #281. And with these Build-A-Figure pieces combined, you of course have Galactus. This is an incredible Build-A-Figure that still stands up so well today. You can put him next to your current Hasbro Marvel Legends and he will tower over them looking imposing, and as any world destroyer should do. What an incredible Build-A-Figure. And that was our first wave of 2005, and baby, we are just getting started. If you're enjoying this list, then please support the channel by pressing the like, share or subscribe button. Join the 6-1 clicks by clicking one of those, and hey, I appreciate it a lot. Kind of helps me out over here. In fact, if you really love what you're seeing here, why wouldn't you? Then you could always go over to patreon.com/displaying model behavior. Throw a few shekels my way. But enough of all that. You don't want to hear about that. Let's hear about what came up next. Next up, we have one of our patented Toybiz box sets, and what a box set this is. This one just raises the bar for wonderful Spider-Man collections. We have Spider-Man's fearsome foes. So of course you have the wall crawler himself, Spider-Man, but what a rogues gallery he comes packed with. You've got the Rhino, who is big and chunky and looking fearsome. You have Carnage, who I think, symbiote characters are great because this still holds up to today, I reckon. Then you've got the Vulture, who some people will say is still possibly the best Vulture. His Adrian Toomes face looks really weathered and like a proper old man. And then you have the Lizard, and the Lizard, you look at the detail on here, how reptilian and vicious the face looks. This is a really mean looking, dare I say, fearsome set of action figures. Fearsome Foes was an awesome box set, and actually the Rhino and Lizard from that pack totally filled in the spaces on my shelf until I could get around to, affording or at least justifying the Rhino and Lizard Build-A-Figures. I jumped into collecting right at the tail end of like 2016 when those figures had been and gone and were all of a sudden impossible to find. But anyway, enough about my woes, because we have got a big badass wave coming up next. Not only do we have a Build-A-Figure, but Hasbro was super smart. Or was it still Toybiz? I'll get back to you on that. But either way, we had a Build-A-Figure, which was also an army builder, because sometimes you just got too much money to spend. Kicking things off, we're going back to our first appearance theme here with the first appearance style Amazing Spider-Man. This figure's got the real retro look going for it, and of course he comes packaged with a reprint of Amazing Fantasy number 15, but also a copy of Amazing Spider-Man number 8. Following Spider-Man, we had not one, but two Angels. We had the classic red costumed Angel, but also we had the blue-coloured variant. These are both the fluffy feather-winged Angel. It would be a while before we got the razor metallic Archangel, but these two fellas both came with a reprint of Uncanny X-Men number 5. We go now to Wakanda with our first Black Panther figure. King T'Challa here comes with the very regal cape and all the extra sort of gold stylings that really bring out the look of the character. And of course he comes with a reprint of Avengers number 87. Now we go back to the X-Men, and again we're seeing double here. We have Cyclops, but not one, but two versions of Scott Summers. We have the regular X-Men version and we have the X-Factor variant version. Really cool to get, two different runs of the same character. Just a simple tweak gives you two very different costumes, and both of these fellas come. We're sticking with the X-Men theme for the rest of this wave as we get Mr. Sinister. Nathaniel Essex has a fantastic sculpt and paint job, really bringing out so much detail, and a snazzy pop collar as well. And he comes along with a reprint of Uncanny X-Men number 243. Now we have Raven Darkholme, Mystique, the mother of Rogue and Nightcrawler. She comes with a poster book. And rounding out the wave, we have the frightful and fearsome Russian, Omega Red. This classic villain comes with a reprint of X-Men number 7. And finally, when you combine all the Build-A-Figures for this wave, you have the mighty, mega imposing Sentinel. What an absolute beast this figure is. Still goes for a fair chunk of change in the collector community. This is the absolute gold standard for Build-A-Figures. See, I said in that previous introduction, Hasbro, and I was like, oh, is it Hasbro or Toybiz? What am I saying? Of course it's Toybiz. Just look at the figures, look at the paint jobs, look at the sculpting detail. Speaking of, we're about to go into a wave that had some not only fantastic sculpts, but some amazing accessories that just came as standard. It wasn't even deluxe, it was just like, no, here you go. Have a vehicle with your figure. Go on, we'll be generous. Now we have our Riders Wave, in which each figure comes packed with some mode or means of transportation. Coming up first, we have The Thing, Ben Grimm, who almost quite amusingly comes with a very little fantastic type scooter, sort of hover bikes kind of vehicle. And this is Thing in his first appearance, guys, who I think actually looks a lot like the Roger Corman Thing. And this guy comes packaged with a reprint of Fantastic Four #1. Now we get real chunky, we get big on the heftometer, we have the Hulkbuster armor. This is such a classic staple of Iron Man's armory. This gigantic, hefty boy here comes packaged with a reprint of Iron Man number 305. Now, what kind of a year would go by without a Wolverine action figure? We have a legendary Riders Logan with his motorbike here. Not only one, but we get another version with a black jacket also. And both of these figures come with a reprint of Uncanny X-Men number 141. Now we head over to the Avengers. We have the Scarlet Witch with a face sculpt that is still somewhat infamous to this day. She comes packaged with a reprint of Avengers number 187. The villainous Taskmaster comes in next with a huge collection and big assortment of weapons and accessories, and of course his rider's vehicle as well. The Mean Mercenary comes with a reprint of Avengers number 196. Next up we have Wonder Man, and it's not just the mutants who get their 2-for-1 repaints. We have regular Wonder Man and we have Ionic Purple variant Wonder Man. And both of these fellas come with a reprint of Avengers number 51. And what would the Avengers be without a villain to face? And who bigger, badder and better than the robot menace himself, Ultron, who comes with something that looks almost like a Goblin glider. I think there could be some reuse going on there, which is kind of fun. And this big menacing robotic monster comes with a reprint of Avengers number 22. And rounding out this wave, we go full-on demonic with the devilish Ghost Rider character, Vengeance. This amazing demon comes packed with his beautiful bone skull bike and a reprint of Ghost Rider number 39. And now it's time for the final wave of 2005, and baby, we are going out big. We got a couple of figures in this wave that we desperately are overdue a re-release for, and whew, a BAF that to this day still well and truly stands the test of time. What a way to round out the year with the Apocalypse Wave. Coming in first, we have Bishop, and keeping with the X-Men theme, he has a variant double as well. We have the regular Bishop and we have the bald, slaphead looking Bishop, and both of these fellas come with a reprint of Bishop number 2. Next we have Iron Fist with the classic 70s look with the pop collar and the chest tattoo, and again this fella has two distinct variants. We have the green jumpsuit Iron Fist and the red jumpsuit Iron Fist, and whatever colour you go for, each one will come with a reprint of Iron Fist number 8. Now we have a villain who I feel we are in desperate need of an update for. We have the Maestro himself. Huge, big, chunky, mean and green. He comes with a reprint of Captain Marvel number 30. Now we're moving into the wilds of Canada, and it's always fun when a repaint will give you a completely different character. First of all, we have Alpha Flight's Sasquatch, but with just a little bit of white paint, we also have the evil Wendigo. I say evil, he's not really evil, he's more a force of nature, but I digress. And we can't leave the year without visiting Wolverine one more time. We have the more modern costume Wolverine here. This one comes with a reprint of Astonishing X-Men number 6. But not only that, we get another version as well with the maskless version. And both of these sport the Joss Whedon Astonishing X-Men costume. And finally, to put a bow on this year, we have X-23. This character comes with not one but two versions again. We have the purple suit variant also. And whichever colour scheme you go for, you get to bag yourself a reprint of Uncanny X-Men number 451. And finally, what a way to end this year. When you combine all the Build-A-Figures from this wave, you can build the mighty Apocalypse. What an incredible figure this is. What an incredible year this was for BAFs. Apocalypse, Sentinel and Galactus all out this year, all standing so tall and all still looking so good even to this day. And that was every figure released in 2005. Folks, I hope you enjoyed me on this little journey here. We were well and truly into like what you could call the golden age of Marvel Legends. So if you want to support the channel, then by all means, join the 6-1 clicks. Oh, not. Yeah. 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 Sorry about that. Folks, if you want to enjoy more of these episodes, then please join the 6-1 clicks by clicking the like, share and subscribe buttons. And until next time, keep displaying model behaviour. Hello Marvel Legends and welcome to another episode of Displaying Model Behaviour, and it's time once again to go back into the old Toybiz vaults because we are going to look at every figure released in 2006. Folks, every single piece of photography used in this video has been taken from marvellegends.net, an incredible resource website made by fans for fans. If you want to check out some of their incredible photography, go on over to marvellegends.net. Toybiz decided to kick off 2006 by giving us something a little bit different. This time, it was the Versus 2-packs. The first one had Captain America against his arch nemesis, the Red Skull. Now normally when I picture the Red Skull, I see him in his green jumpsuit or maybe his Hugh Hefner style smoking jacket, but in this instance they put him in a very toyetic looking blue and red battle suit. Sticking with Captain America, the next pack had the Star-Spangled Avenger paired up against Baron von Strucker. This was the first time we had a Baron von Strucker figure, to the best of my knowledge, and they capture him pretty well with his bald head, monocle and evil Nazi sneer. Next up, we took it to the grim and gritty streets of Hell's Kitchen with the Daredevil and Kingpin 2-pack. Toybiz decided to do a sneaky little double dip by also offering another 2-pack with a black suited Kingpin and a maskless Matt Murdock. I distinctly remember when the Hasbro Build-A-Figure Kingpin came out, a lot of people were lamenting that even though he did look great, it was the Toybiz Kingpin in his more classic looking retro suit and cravat sort of style that was still arguably superior. And now finally, we've got that look in our Hasbro Build-A-Figure type Kingpin, and all is right with the world. The 2-packs became gamma irradiated with the next release of the Incredible Hulk and the Leader. I always thought this particular Hulk looked awesome, a great representation of the classic 70s style Hulk, which possibly wasn't bettered until we finally got the 80th anniversary one from Hasbro. Now again we got the sneaky little double dip, but it was a fun one. The first one came with the Leader, who has affectionately become known as the Testicle Head Leader. I prefer to call him the Broccoli Head Leader. Either way, the next one came out with the very retro, straight up and down kind of beaker looking forehead leader. Either way, this 2-pack was excellent. And that concludes the first of many waves that Toybiz put out in 2006. This was a really fun way to kick off the year, doing something new with these rivalry 2-packs. It breaks things up from the regular waves with the Build-A-Figures and whatnot. And still, some of these figures do stand up so well with Kingpin with all the detailing on his costume. And man, even though we've got another Red Daredevil, a couple of Red Daredevils over the last few years, we are still desperately in need, I feel, of a definitive, maybe on the retro Spider-Man body, classic Red Daredevil. Now we have a fun 4-pack with the Young Avengers. First up, we have Wiccan with his various magical Asgardian accessories. Then you've got the shape-shifting Hulkling, followed up by
the futuristic Iron Lad, and the team is rounded out with their leader, the Patriot.
It was so good to see a Young Avengers set, and boy are we still crying out for a redo of some of these, especially Wiccan and Hulkling. I think it's so great to have more gay representation in the Marvel Universe and in the figures that come from it. And now with Wiccan and Hulkling both being featured so prominently in recent big-time Marvel comic stories, we really need another go-over with these characters.
Now it was time for Marvel Legends to get creepy, kooky, mysterious, and spooky with the Monsters 4-pack. One thing that I think really sets this set apart is just how beautifully sculpted and painted some of these facial features are. You take a close look at characters like Frankenstein's monster and the Wolfman, and you see the artistry that's gone into the painting and sculpting to really bring these characters to life. Or death. This was a really fun set that first of all had Dracula himself, then you've got Frankenstein's monster, the Wolfman, and finally the one and only Marvel Zombie.
Oh my goodness, I think 2006 has to be the year of figures that we want new versions of. The Marvel Monsters. Where are our modern Marvel monsters? With the new bucks and sculpts and painting, I could just imagine what Hasbro could do with a Frankenstein's monster or Wolfman. Speaking of Wolfman, Man-Wolf, where is our John Jameson? But I'm getting distracted. Let's go back to the list.
First up, it's Abomination, looking big, chunky, and terrifying. And you had a chase version of the figure as well, who had the messed up side of his face. So you had an extra thing to look out for. Then we have Blackheart. We're getting dark and satanic with this one. And with the sculpting, he looks just like this great, gruesome Cthulhu-type creature from the depths of hell. Then we go straight back to the real world with the Green Goblin, Norman Osborn, a figure that a lot of people to this day still say is the standout Green Goblin figure, especially when you consider there's a chase version with an unmasked Norman head. Now we're able to bolster Wolverine's Rogues Gallery with Lady Deathstrike. This is what I feel is a cool figure let down by a bit of a derpy face, although what she does have going for her are the awesome looking razor fingers, and with her cybernetic long lanky limbs, she still looks pretty cool on the shelf. Now we have Loki, and this to my knowledge, or opinion, is still the best Loki figure that we've ever had. This was before Loki was the androgynous pansexual sex symbol that he is today, and was actually more of a withered old creepy Uncle Fester looking guy. But when you look at the detail in his armor and clothing and the horns, this is the premier version of Loki. Adding now to the roster of the Brotherhood of, don't call them evil, mutants, we have Pyro. And while this figure has some nice touches with the pipes and his flame backpack, the muddy color of his arms looks kind of odd, and his bug-like eyes don't really suit the aesthetic. So overall, I'm glad we've got a new version of this character. And finally, for the Build-A-Figure, we have everyone's favorite Capcom end-of-level boss. It is Onslaught. I was so happy to see Hasbro do justice to the Onslaught character, because being a child of the 80s and 90s, Onslaught was the coolest thing in the world. For a time. Of course, this is the bug armored beetle shell type design, and I was always wishing that it would be the Magneto kind of version that we would get. And several years later, we eventually got our wish.
Oh, Meme, that Onslaught bath, so good. I love it, but at the same time, it needed to be a little bit bigger. He looks so small next to the other Toybiz baths. Also, that Loki costume, it still stands out as the absolute best Loki. Toybiz, they set the bar so high, unfortunately, that came with a big cost of production, which they just couldn't keep up with.
Continuing with the traditional waves, we now have the Giant Man Build-A-Figure wave. And who better to kick off the Giant Man wave with than the more diminutive Ant-Man. And Toybiz were quite kind with this one, where he has a removable helmet, so you don't have to buy two figures to get the maskless look. Hello, 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 what's going on here? It's only bloody Captain Britain. Sorry for an English person, I do the world's worst English accent, but this is Captain Britain. Now we have the Owen to Cyclops' Bret Hart, it is Havoc. And he has that kind of sneer on his face that just lets you know that he's clearly not happy about being second fiddle to his big brother. And following on from Havoc, we have Carol Danvers as Warbird. This is a figure that was later remade by Hasbro, but I don't think I'm alone in saying we could do with an update at this point. We now take an unexpected trip over to the Age of Apocalypse for Victor Creed, Sabretooth. And now it's time for the figure with the power of 1,000,000 exploding suns. It is the Sentry, with two different versions. We've got the smooth baby-faced one and the bushy grizzly man look. Heading back over to the X-Men, we have Kitty Pryde with her adorable little dragon, Lockheed. And it's time now for one of Marvel's heavy hitters. It is, of course, the God of Thunder himself, Thor. And since the Age of Apocalypse is clearly such a lovely place to be, we revisit it with Weapon X, who also comes with a different look. If you can chase that figure down, we have the burnt face Freddy Krueger Weapon X. And finally, once you've combined all those Build-A-Figure pieces, you have the incredible and rather expensive right now, Giant Man.
Giant Man, that figure is one that is so hard to come by these days. I don't even consider it like a missing part of my collection because I'm just like, nah, we ain't never getting that. Don't believe me? Go have a look for him on eBay.
Now I hope you like your villains grim and gruesome because we are moving on to the Mojo Wave. And to kick the wave off, we have the character who is about to be the main antagonist on the new Disney Plus Winter Soldier series. It is Baron Zemo. And this figure comes with another chase version you can hunt down with the very gruesome looking unmasked face. And now we have the other half of that Disney Plus lineup. It is the Falcon, who comes with a great looking Red Wing accessory, which is something we cannot say about the new Hasbro one. And now we gotta go back, way back into time with the original Iron Man suit, which is a really fun design for Toybiz to go and tackle. And of course you can search out the more updated gold variant as well. And of course you couldn't possibly have a Mojo Wave without the villain's #1 ratings draw. It is his favorite superstar, Longshot. And sweet Christmas indeed, rounding out the wave, it is our favorite tiara-wearing badass Luke Cage, Power Man. And for you lucky little devils who hunt down all the Build-A-Figure pieces, you get to assemble the gigantic, gelatinous, disgusting blob himself, Mojo.
Okay, this just shows off my personal taste here because I don't have Mojo in my collection, and honestly, I'm not that bothered. Even if someone gave him to me for free, I'd be like, oh, it's just such a disgustingly put together character. I mean, like, it's brilliant. Like, the sculptors just saw the character and went like, oh man, he looks so gross. Let's translate that perfectly. It's the same with the Blob Build-A-Figure. I'm like, I don't want that on my shelf.
When someone at Toybiz said we couldn't possibly make an uglier Build-A-Figure, somebody else said, hold my beer, and they brought out the MODOK Wave. And what better way to kick off this weird, wonderful and wacky wave of characters than the horse-faced thunder god alien creature himself, Beta Ray Bill. And now guys, we have a milestone figure. Why is it a milestone? Because this is the first figure in the countdown that I actually possess. I own this Marvel. Actually, not specifically Marvel, but the variant. The beautiful, blue, cosmic looking Genis-Vell. I have this guy on my shelf with his great, colorful, translucent plastic. The sun can just pour through this, making it look like some quantum energy being. Such a great figure. With the bizarrely accurate Cody Rhodes face, this is one of my favorites in the collection. Now this is an interesting one, as it's the first figure which I don't know if it's an original creation or if it has appeared in the comics at some point, because now we have Tony Stark in the Thor Buster armor. And not to be outdone by human technology, we have the Asgardian equivalent, the Big Bad Dangerous Destroyer. Taking it back to those streets, which are still very grim and still very gritty, we have Mark Spector Moon Knight in one black costume, but also we have the variant version, the very shiny, silvery, and kind of cool, well, silver version. And now, long before the Spider-Verse was ever a thing, we have not one, but two different Spider-Women, available in either Jessica Jones flavor or Jessica Drew flavor. So you can either have the bright and colorful red and yellow, or the sleek Venom looking black and white. We go now from female arachnids to female insects. It is Janet Van Dyne, the Wasp, and of course you get two different versions here as well. You get the more modern looking black and yellow one, but also you can go proper retro old school with her black and red design. Choose which one you like. And finally, rounding out the wave, we have the big, gruesome, ugly looking Build-A-Figure. It is the mechanized organism designed only for killing. It is MODOK. And much like the Modo Build-A-Figure, MODOK is just so gnarly and ugly looking with his look on his face and his little arms and his little legs sticking out. It's like, oh, I mean, I've actually pre-ordered the new MODOK because there's something a little bit more cartoony and sort of clean about the Hasbro style. It's like the Toybiz MODOK, you can imagine he would probably smell bad. Not the figure, but the character. It's almost like a smell-o-vision kind of thing. The Hasbro one looks a lot cleaner. Alright guys, we're powering on through the year and it is time for another round of face-off. First of all, we have Iron Man and the Mandarin. Can you believe, to the best of my knowledge, this is the only Mandarin comic book figure that we've had for the Legends line? It is so in need of an update and hopefully we're going to see that soon, but for something to pass the time, this is a really nice figure. He's got some magic effects, he's got the bright, colorful costume. It's pretty cool. It's just badly in need of an update. Now this pair I'm really fond of. We have Punisher and Jigsaw. Jigsaw's such a mean, gnarly, nasty looking villain that I would love to see an updated version, but even with today's crafting technology, I don't think we'd see one that looks as gruesome as this one with the big bulging left eye and the mashed up looking face. Plus we got an extra variant of this pack as well, with Jigsaw in a nice clean white suit, which is kind of like the suit the Kingpin Build-A-Figure wears. Plus the Punisher also has a more modified, kind of I think a sort of a 90s look of his regular Punisher costume. And with this next pack, we get to play the game of, is it a new set or is it just a repaint? Well, the answer is somewhere in the middle. It's the Mandarin once again, and this time he's taking on War Machine. So they didn't have to do very much to alter this pack up besides changing some of the colors. So Mandarin now has a great red, flaming, fiery looking kind of costume, and also he has an unmasked head, so there is something different there. Then for Iron Man, they've retooled him into the big bad black and white looking War Machine. And to round out the second face-off wave, we have the original designs of Wolverine and Sabretooth. One of the most iconic duos, rivalries to package together with this set. And they both look pretty cool. Wolverine in his first appearance from Hulk 181, and Sabretooth rocking the kind of toned down style of costume that he had in his first appearance in Iron Fist. And there is of course a variant for this set as well, which has probably the least amount of changes in it. In this case, just both figures come with more angry, snarling, sneering kind of faces. Those face-off 2-packs were fun sets, and again, like with previous sets from 2006, reminds me how many figures I still want to see in new Hasbro releases. 90s Iron Man, give us that. The Mandarin, yes please, thank you. Jigsaw, just serve them on up. I want so many of these figures that have been done before, but now we just need them done again because, like, all this money I'm trying to get rid of, obviously. Now we have one of the most unusual 4-pack sets that I think Toybiz have done, and that is the House of M set. And it's so bizarre, but really cool. First of all, you have this House of M Hulk, and look, hands up, cards on the table, I haven't read House of M for years, whenever it came out in the early 2000s, and even then I only read the main stories and not the tie-ins, so I have no idea why some of these characters are looking like this. But take this Hulk, look at the sculpting on him. He's got these kind of tribal, aboriginal type tattoos, makeup paint on him, then with the really snarling looking face. It's a cool Hulk figure, maybe the best figure that Toybiz have done, but just a really unusual design that I can't explain the story behind. And speaking of figures that I can't explain the story behind, we have this demon, fire, devil-looking Johnny Storm. How this fate befell one of our Fantastic Four heroes, I have no idea. And whether this character is good, bad, tortured, indifferent, I don't know. But the figure with the huge, fiery, flaming wings looks amazing. And speaking of amazing looking, we have a Japanese Edo period samurai theme inspired Iron Man. Again, no idea the story behind this figure, but look at the gigantic backpack rocket type accessory on him there, the awesome samurai looking style mask. This is a figure I've been really tempted to get, even though I know nothing about him, just because of how awesome he looks. And rounding out the set in kind of a bizarre way, we have the saddest looking thing I've ever seen. Poor old Ben Grimm. I have no idea what fate has befallen him to make him so glum, but he's got this, what looks like a restraining collar around his neck, and it looks like he's having a real bad day. But again, as far as a thing figure is concerned, you look at the size of this, the mass, the chunkiness. This is an awesome figure. If they had just taken off this head and replaced it with a classic sort of Mama Grimm's baby boy looking blue-eyed thing, that would have made a really great addition to the Fantastic Four. What a bizarre set House of M is, and it's really cool and actually not that expensive. If you want to go back and pick up some of these bizarre random looking characters, then you can do. They're not available. I think if you try to find them as a box set, yeah, that's probably going to be quite a big price tag. But just to find like, you know, the samurai looking Iron Man or the crazy devil Human Torch, you can go onto eBay and they're not too hard to come by. I just wouldn't know where on earth to put them in my collection. And now for the last wave of this year, it almost feels like Toybiz just went, you know what haven't we done yet? I'll tell you what, let's throw in some 616, some Fox movie characters, and oh, what the hell, we'll put in some Ultimate characters as well. Just, what the heck, let's just go ham with this one. So first up, we've got Sean Cassidy, Banshee, who we desperately need to bolster out the ranks of our classic X-Men team. This is a figure who's long overdue, but the old Toybiz one, he still holds up pretty well. He's got a great screaming sculpt on the face, and you can put him next to the Hasbros, and he doesn't look out of place. Now a figure that I don't think anyone desperately wanted, we have the Kelsey Grammer Beast. Who would have thought we would ever have a Frasier action figure? But hey, I guess we get a Sideshow Bob action figure too. There's probably a whole Kelsey Grammer cinematic universe out there. But this is from the much maligned, and rightly so, X3 movie. We have Beast. Now going back to the comics, it is the White Queen Emma Frost, and this I think is a noble attempt at her X-Men gear. That looks pretty cool, although I think the face leaves a lot to be desired. It looks a little stretched out and a bit of a funny sort of expression, and of course she's missing any of her diamond effects. This is a figure that was, I think, greatly improved upon later on by Hasbro. Now we got ourselves the Mighty Hercules, and he's a good big chunky figure. They do a lot of justice to this character, really jacking him up and making him big and strong looking. He's a fun member of the Mount Olympus gang. Speaking of big chunky figures, we have one of my favorite Hulk figures. We have Gladiator Hulk from Planet Hulk, and this guy looks so cool. I think it's the same Hulk from the House of M pack. I'm pretty sure that's the case. But yeah, with his mean looking face, big old jade jaws there, with his gladiator helmet and all the accoutrements as well. A really, really cool Planet Hulk figure. And rounding out the wave, it's Ultimate Iron Man. Ultimate Iron Man I do not think is a character or story run that's ever going to be looked back on particularly fondly. They made some real weird decisions in that Ultimate universe, but one good thing to come from it was this Iron Man suit design, which has a very unique looking helmet I think is very cool, and also the grey body going up to the red and yellow looks a lot like the Iron Man design from the first Marvel Universe Spider-Man film, so I think there's probably some inspiration taken from from the Ultimate Comics, and it's translated really well into this action figure. And finally, completing this final wave of 2006 is the Build-A-Figure, and what a way to go out. We have Annihilus. All the things that I love about figures. He's big, he's got huge wings, he's bright and colourful, and he's got a mean, gnarly face. This is a Build-A-Figure that's still very hard to come by and will fetch a pretty price for a good version of him. But he's so cool, and I really, really hope we get an updated version of this in the 2021 Fantastic Four wave. Annihilus, one of the last really big, badass looking Build-A-Figures that Toybiz got the chance to do, and what a great way to go out on 2006. This year just had so many great figures, and the sculpting and detail on characters like Jigsaw, like the Marvel monsters, so much work and effort, but unfortunately this was kind of an expanding bubble that could only go so far. That was the problem with Toybiz. They set the bar so high that simply the economics of the cost of making figures like this didn't match up with what they could get back, and ultimately the bubble had to pop, and eventually that would happen, but we got some amazing figures out of their crazy design aesthetics. But we are not done yet. There's still a whole lot more figures to go through, and I am gonna make these videos. I promise I will start to make them more regularly. In the meantime though guys, thank you so much for watching. If you like what you see here and you want to see more, then join the 6 Clicks by clicking the like, share and subscribe buttons. And if you really want to support the channel, you can go over to patreon.com/displayingmodelbehavior, throw a few Marvel bucks my way and it helps keep the lights on. And in the meantime guys, check out the Data Blast coming up now. All the best things I found on Instagram, curated for your enjoyment. Check the names of the creators and go give them a follow because they do fantastic work. And until next time, keep displaying model behavior.
Chill.